During a visit to the rural Mohawk Valley, a couple was immediately drawn to the historic house in Ames's farming community. During the rebuilding and restoration of their early 20th century home, they decided to start in the old mudrow, a 70-foot extension that seemed bolted on as an afterthought. However, they unintentionally revealed the first of a number of mysteries that the property had been holding. When they began to remove the decaying skirting boards, nothing could have prepared them for what they ultimately learned about the house's sinister background. Despite their anxiety about what else they might discover, before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any new stories. Patrick Backer and his partner Nick Drummond purchased their dream home in 2019. They were strangely drawn to the rural part of Montgomery County with its spacious meadows and farms. The surrounding area looked like it belonged in a storybook, and the house they were going to see certainly did. The silhouette of an American Foursquare house perched on a hill in the middle of nowhere popped into view out the window as they drove deep into the farmland. Despite the house's extraordinary aura, they did not realize that a strange gift was left for them by the previous owner. The first year the couple lived there was largely unremarkable. Although the house needed work, it was nonetheless robust despite its age, and Nick was eager to start making repairs. He believed he was more than qualified to take on the mysterious home given his years of experience and fascination with historic architecture. However, Nick and Patrick's delight subsided when they met the neighbors. Nick and Patrick weren't sure what to make of their neighbors when they first met them. They appeared kind, but they kept asking why they had purchased the house. Nick and Patrick were unaware that their new home had quite the reputation in the neighborhood. Their new house had a mysterious past and was the subject of many odd stories. According to rumors, the old 20th century house was rumored to be in bad shape. It had been listed for a while, but once possible buyers learned about the rumors, they backed out. Nick and Patrick, however, were not like them. Up until this point, they had dismissed the rumors and the urban legends surrounding the mansion. The rumored mystery surrounding the house had only heightened their excitement. Nick told the authorities that the rumors about this place just made the whole thing better. Staring at the broken, rotted skirting boards on the lawn, he said, "Rumors floated around, and we thought it was all a hoax," as Nick led a team of contractors into the mudrow. One fateful September day, everything changed. In the midst of the commotion inside, Nick decided to work outside. He attempted to gain access to the bottom of the room so that he could insulate the room by removing the skirting boards. He realized that the foundation was rotten. However, that would be the least of his problems. The more he ripped off the wooden slats one by one, the more he realized that the room had already been insulated. "How strange," he said. Insulation was undoubtedly not a popular practice when this house was constructed in the early 20th century. His first indication that something was wrong came from there. Nick reached beneath the flooring, and his knuckles smacked into a solid wall, but that also didn't make sense. There was no need for walls beneath the floor, since the room was a porch. Nick tore more of the slats away, puzzled and fascinated. Suddenly, a large item dropped out of the wall abruptly. Nick inspected the material that he had thought was insulation inside the wall and discovered it was actually another package. Then, he found another. His heart began to race. It wasn't just one or two packages. The entire hollow wall of the mudrow seemed to be laced with packages. Nick turned and bellowed for the contractors to come out and help him. What had he uncovered, they asked. They pulled the rest of the boards off and realized the whole side of the mudroom was filled with these packages. The workers wanted to open them, but Nick wanted to leave them as they were because they are historic. Nick scratched his head at the sight of his findings. How did they get here? He wondered. Suddenly, it clicked. Nick called out for his partner Patrick. He arrived just as Nick was shakily pulling another package out of the wall and lining them up on the ground. Patrick's jaw came unhinged. They looked at each other. "Do you think the rumors are true now?" Nick asked, freaked out. They carried the packages inside. What did they contain? Nick and Patrick carried the packages inside and stacked them neatly on the dining room table. But when they carefully inspected the first one, they were stunned by what they saw inside the brown and tattered packages. It could be proof that all the rumors about the house were true. For the unwitting couple, It was starting to get a little too real for comfort. It was time to take what the neighbors had warned them about more seriously. With the discovery of the packages, Nick worried that perhaps there was much more to this house than they initially thought. They began to delve into the house's history and found the notorious man who built it. The house, as it turned out, was built in 1915 by an enigmatic real estate dealer known around the Mohawk Valley as Count Adolf Humpher, dubbed by locals and newspapers as the mystery man of the Mohawk Valley. It was rumored that he was an unsavory character who possibly had ties to none other than the Mafia. Nick and Patrick huddled around their laptops as they began to read the riveting story of this curious man's life and how he ended up building their house. The house was built before the Roaring Twenties, but what Nick had just stumbled upon was fascinating. They read with their eyes wide at the man's hidden cache of criminal secrets. Nick and Patrick now had an idea of what they were dealing with. When they delved deeper into the house's history, what they discovered left them feeling queasy. Count Adolf Humpher went under several aliases. He had fled his Bavarian family home and settled in Ames, and his first wife had gone missing in 1912. Indeed, even Adolf Humpher's demise seemed shrouded in mystery. Harry Barry, the executive of his large estate, was the only witness. Now that the rumors about the house were confirmed, what other ghosts of its former occupants still stalked the old mudroom? The Count had left behind over $140,000 upon his passing in 1932, a tremendous sum at the time, as well as the deeds to the local school gymnasium, bank houses in New York City and New Jersey, and foreign bank accounts in various names. But where he had made this money was another story. So, what had Nick and Patrick found? The strange bundles hidden in the mudroom were, in fact, bottles of bootlegged whiskey. Humpher had hidden them in the wall during a time when the sale and production of alcohol were illegal, and incredibly, they'd remained hidden there ever since. Humpher's businesses, and even his truck, had secret hiding places that were revealed upon his passing. But there was something else hiding in his home in Ames. Nick and Patrick had just uncovered the first signs of the criminal dealings that went on in their home a century ago, but that wasn't enough to put Nick off. Soon enough, curiosity got the better of him. Nick knew that with a man like that, he must have hidden more in this secretive house. A few days went by, and Nick thought, what else is in that mudroom? Nick said in an interview, I immediately thought about the crawl space hatch we'd seen. The previous owner had told us that the hatch led to an abandoned well, but then I thought, oh my God, now we have to crawl into that hole. Nick recalls it turned out that the hatchway led down to a couple of compartments that were built beneath the building. It was dark and damp and full of dead things. Nick recalled shivering at the memory. But what were they hiding? Nick descended into the dark underside of the house to find out. He surveyed the area. In the first compartment, there was a rug placed to cover an old well. The well was lined with stone and had been dug out by hand. Some 8 feet down into the well lay water. Nick was disappointed as he didn't find any more of the smuggler's stash, just a handful of empty bottles. But it wasn't over yet. Nick, with Patrick and an employee named Toe, crept down into the second hidey hole. The first thing that was weird was, we didn't see any floor joists, Nick explains. Then they noticed a solid ceiling made up of a bunch of boards, and all the boards were attached with flathead screws. Why would someone do that instead of joists to support the floor above? Nick could see solid wooden slabs. The flathead screws were obviously used to remove the boards easily. There would never have been a ceiling in a crawl space that was never an insulated room, so that made no sense either, Nick explained. So, I thought there's something in the floor. This is so crazy, Patrick says in an interview. Those 2 boards in the mudroom. Why didn't anyone rip them up? There's a weird anticipation. Is it filled with jewels? Is it a body? Is it money? You only get that once. I like the anticipation. We knew the hatch existed, but it's an unfinished mudroom, he said. It's just crawl space access. We never really thought about it. Previous owners said that's just how you get to the abandoned well. Nick and Patrick pried a few boards back and found 4 more packages, but decided to leave them where they were. We have a legend here that is real, Patrick explains. When do you get those? And that's one reason why we haven't taken the rest of the bundles up yet from under the mudroom. But there may have been a reason for the well that the couple hadn't anticipated. So, I crawled in the hatch and got this photo of the abandoned well under the floor. It's beneath some of the secret booze compartments, Nick wrote in an Instagram post. Soon, the comments and speculations were flooding in. One user wrote, "Bootleggers probably had to whack a guy now and then. It'd be a good spot to hide him in total." The couple found 66 bottles of old smuggler whiskey. A good number of the bottles dated back to 1923, lending credence to the theory that they were stashed during the Prohibition era in New York. The story of the couple's find spread quickly on social media, and soon auction houses and collectors were knocking on their door. But Nick and Patrick only had one thing on their minds: the mysterious man and bootlegger Adolf Humpher. What else could possibly be stashed in their home? The couple set about cataloging the whiskey, reporting the find to the proper authorities, and shared the results on Facebook. Nick wrote, "Out of the initial bottles found, about 13 are full, but 4 of those have tops in rough condition, so I'd say probably 9 good bottles. But what did they intend to do with them? How does it taste?" The couple plans to sell off the bottles that are still full. Nick estimates that each one would bring in around $1,000. The empty bottles wouldn't go to waste either. They'd form a part of the decor for their home, now dubbed Bootlegger Bungalow. Once fully renovated, putting them on a display that is appropriate for a bootlegger's former residence. However, it would be a pity not to give the whiskey a try. So Nick and Patrick intend to keep one bottle for themselves, and naturally, their fans on social media wanted them to share how it tasted. They replied on Facebook to everyone asking, "Have we tried it?" "We haven't, but we will." To the delight of their ever-increasing number of followers, it's a whodunit, says Nick, and everyone wants to help figure out what the actual story is. Everyone is sending them snippets of crazy information. Rumors linked Adolf Humpher to dealings with the mob in the 1930s, a death under suspicious circumstances, and a missing bride. The couple is still determined to reveal the unknown history of their house and the enigmatic man who built it, uncovering new snippets of information every day as they piece the story together.
Disclaimer: this channel does not support or tolerate any form of discrimination, racism, prejudice, or violation of human rights. The stories presented here are original and created by the author with the aim of promoting reflection, awareness, and dialogue. All content is developed with respect for diversity and the dignity of all people.